In this SwiftUI tutorial, we're going to build an app with CreateML that tells users when to go to bed based on how much coffee they've had to drink. This is actually a conversion of an earlier UIKit project I made in my Swift on Sundays live streams. In that project, I showed you how to take JSON data, give it off to CreateML on your Mac, train it to a core ML model, then add that to your app. Here though, we're focusing on SwiftUI. So we'll take the finished model from last time and use it directly here. If you want to know where it came from, how it was made, how CreateML works, awesome, please see the description below for that live stream so you can go and watch that first. And also in there is the GitHub repository with my finished model for you to use. Anyway, in this tutorial video, we're focusing specifically on SwiftUI. You'll see date pickers and text and VStack and steppers and more along with core ML. There's lots to do, so let's go straight to Xcode. In Xcode, go ahead and choose Create a new Xcode project. Choose iOS, then Single View App, then press Next. Call this thing Better Rest. And as with all these SwiftUI tutorials, make sure this Use SwiftUI checkbox is checked. Otherwise, it'll be very confusing indeed. Now press Next and create on your desktop. Now for this project to work, you need to have a core ML model. It's right here, sleepcalculator.ml model. I actually made this as part of my Swift on Sundays YouTube live streams. I'll link to that in the description for this video because it's really important you have that thing. And in the video for Swift on Sundays, we actually made that using CreateML and some JSON and so forth. You can either do the whole thing from scratch or just snag my machine learning model straight from GitHub. Again, see the video description for more information. Anyway, there is my ML model. I'm going to drag that into my Xcode project so we can use that in a moment. I'll drag that thing into my navigator below info.plist. Then yes, go ahead and add that and we're done. Okay. So I'll go ahead and close the project navigator and the inspectors on the right here. Then press resume to restart the automatic previewing. And by default, it'll be this sort of hello world text here. The regular stuff. First, let's zoom out slightly so we can see slightly more of our view. There we go. And we're going to replace this simple texting with a navigation view. And inside that, a VStack. And inside that, our UI controls. We'll have some text, a date picker, some more text, a stepper, a third piece of text, and a second stepper. Let's try and put all that in now. So inside our body, we'll have a navigation view. Inside there will be a VStack. And inside there is our first text field. Text. When do you want to wake up? Now this thing, I'm going to make a slightly larger font. So I'll do .font, .headline, and .line limit nil. So it needs to go with multiple lines, it can do. That's our first control. When do you want to wake up? Below that, we'll add a date picker. This requires a binding. I'll make a new date up here. We'll say @state private var wake up equals the current date. We can then bind that to a date picker down here by saying date picker. I'm going to bind that to $wake up using the displayed components of dot, hour, and minute. So give me just the time, don't give me the whole days and months and so forth instead. Just hours and minutes. Let's press resume here to refresh our UI. Okay. After the date picker, we'll put some more text. We will say text desired amount of sleep. Again, .font, .headline, nice and big, and .line limit nil. Take up as many lines as you need. Below that, we'll have a stepper. How much sleep do they want to have? And it has to be bound to another local property. So up below this wake up time, I'll add @state private var sleep amount is a double equal to 8. And now we can bind that to a stepper. We can say that the stepper with the value of sleep amount, and we'll provide the range here in 4 through 12. So at least 4 hours of sleep, no more than 12 hours of sleep. And we want to work in increments of a step value of 0.25. So every time they press plus or minus in the stepper, it'll go up by 0.25 or down by 0.25. Inside there, we'll add a text view saying sleep amount, like that, hours. So it'll say 8 hours, 9 hours, 4.25 hours, and so forth. Again, let's press resume, see how that looks. Okay, so you can see it saying 8.00000 hours, which is technically correct, right? But while being technically correct is often the best kind of correct, it doesn't look great here. A nice thing to do is, with our sleep amount, provide some sort of format specifier. We can say sleep amount, comma, specifier, and I'm going to use %g. It's a special floating point identifier that rounds numbers neatly. So when it's 8, it'll be 8. When it's 8.25, it'll be 8.25. It won't be 8.250000, and similar. This is nicer than using sort of old style %0.2f, which means always give me 2 decimal places. You'll see now 8.00, which looks kind of strange. Anyway, we're going to use %g, which means round it neatly. So that's our second area of controls, desired amount of sleep. The third one is going to be another text control. Oops, that's our spacer still. Stepper, sorry. There we go. The third one is going to be a text view saying daily coffee intake. How much coffee do you drink every day? And again, it's going to be font, .headline, and .line limit, nil. Take up as much space as you need. Below this one will be another stepper, where they can choose how many cups of coffee they drink. If the answer is 0, this is not the app for them. This is an app to help folks get to sleep with coffee. So we won't allow 0, we'll allow 1 up to 20. But again, it has to be bound to something. So I'll make another property up here. We'll do @state, private var, coffee amount is an int equal to 1. And now we can make a new stepper. Stepper value $coffee amount in the range 1 through 20, stepping by 1 every time. Inside there, we want to show either 1 cup or 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups, 5 cups. We want neat pluralization. So I'll say if coffee amount is equal to 1, then the text will be 1 cup. Otherwise, the text will be, let's go around just slightly, text will be string interpolation, coffee amount, cups. So 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups, 5 cups. Let's press resume again, see how that looks. Okay. And finally, we're going to add a spacer to push up all this content to the top of our screen. So after this final stepper, we'll just write spacer, like that. And that's everything in our VStack. There's a little bit more configuration required. More specifically, I want to have a title in our navigation view up here, and I want to have a calculate button up here to calculate the appropriate bedtime for this user. Plus, I don't really like the way these things go edge to edge. You can see it goes right to the edge of the screen, which looks weird. So we're going to add a little bit of padding, make the whole thing look nicer. So, after the spacer ends, and a closing brace here, that ends our VStack, the thing inside our navigation view. And that's where we'll attach modifiers to control how this thing looks inside the navigation view. So I'll say .navigation bar title is the text better rest. And navigation bar items, we're going to provide some trailing items, in this case just 1 item. And I will get the spacing exactly right here, otherwise you'll have complaints to the compiler. The trailing thing will be a button with the action of some sort of code here. We'll come back to that soon. code here for calculating. And inside that, we're going to provide just some text. So we'll do text saying calculate, like that. Boom. There's our button right there. Okay, so that's most of our UI done really. The last thing I want to do really is just pull in the edges a little bit, because you can see it's right to edge here, which doesn't look great. So I'll append to that dot padding. Pull it in by a system appropriate amount of padding on every edge. That looks much, much nicer. If you look carefully, the padding on the left and right looks good now, but there's not much space between the sort of stepper here and the label below. So it's not really clear how the groups break down. So we can actually go back to our code again and add a little bit of padding between the steppers. We can say this stepper here has padding on the bottom, like that. And move things down just a little bit below it. And the stepper at the bottom doesn't need any spacing because it just ends with a spacer. So that's our basic UI working. I'll press Command R now to give it a try. Okay, so you can see we have our title and navigation view, 3 pieces of text, a nice date picker here, some steppers we can walk through, so that's 8 hours, going in quarters down to 4, and up to hopefully 12. There we go, maxed at 12, and it's 1 cup by default. Go up, it'll be 2 cups pluralized, and down to 1 cup again. So that's all working very nicely. So now we have our UI complete. Let's look at how we can integrate our core ML model here. You can see I have this button code, which is down here. The code for calculating goes there. So when I tap that calculate button, the code here will get run. And that'll be a custom method we'll write down here in our struct called calculate bedtime. And this thing, calculate bedtime, will read their coffee amount, read their sleep amount, read when they want to wake up, put it all through the core ML model, and get back a value, and show that inside an alert. Now, doing alerts in this case requires 3 new properties we have to make: an alert title, an alert message, and whether the alert is showing or not. So let's make those now. Up here we'll say at state private var alert title is an empty string. At state private var alert message, also an empty string. And at state private var showing alert is false. So we're not showing the alert by default. Then down in our button code, we have this action being called here. We'll no longer provide a closure. Instead, we'll just call calculate bedtime directly. Call that function rather than having a custom inline closure. Inside this calculate bedtime method, the first thing we'll do is make an instance of our sleep calculator. We'll say let model equals a new sleep calculator. And this thing, this class sleep calculator, is made for us automatically by Xcode. You see, we added that model earlier, sleep calculator.ml model. That thing automatically becomes a class we can make inside our code. We want to have any model responses, boom, make that, and we get our full machine learning ready to work. So that's good to go. Now this thing was trained on 3 pieces of data. When someone wants to wake up, in absolute time as seconds, how much coffee they want to drink, and how much sleep they'd like to have. Those are the 3 pieces of input it actually needs. So we have to try and get those 3 from the piece of data in our UI, starting with that date picker there. Now, making any sort of ML prediction can throw errors at any point. So we want to wrap all this code in a do catch block. So I'll say immediately do and catch here. Now the catch is easy enough. We can say straight away that the alert title is going to be error. And our alert message is going to be, sorry, there was a problem calculating your bedtime. That's the easy part. And regardless of whether it worked or not, we can set showing alert to be true. So we want the alert to be shown, either with their recommended bedtime or with the alert message. What that leaves is the code inside the do block. That's going to start by pulling out the hour and minute of their requested wake up time and multiplying those to try and get a number of seconds. Now, of course, if we have an hour, there are 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. So for every hour, we can multiply by 60 and then 60 to get a number of seconds. And for minutes, we can just multiply by 60. So let's do that now. Inside do, I'll say let components equals the calendar.current.date components. And what we're looking for is this first one, date components from a date. We want to read .hour and .minute. And the date to read from will be our wake up date. So that'll give us back the hour and minutes they want to wake up. So we can say let hour equals that components.hour value, which is an optional integer if you look carefully. It might be there, might not be there. If it isn't, we'll use nil coalescing, 0. And multiply that by 60 to get minutes, and 60 again to get seconds. So that's their wake up hour in seconds. For minutes, it's very similar. Let minute equals components.minute, nil coalescing 0, just a simple multiply by 60. There's no more hours to work with. So that's how many minutes they want to wake up from. Like if it's 8:30 a.m., that 30 will be the minutes, and we'll multiply it by 60 to get 1800. So now we can ask our model to make a prediction, passing in the coffee amount, the estimated sleep amount, and the wake up time. We'll say let prediction equals try model.prediction. You'll see this last one here is what we want. Coffee, estimated sleep, and wake. For coffee, we can say the double value of our coffee amount. For estimated sleep, we can just pass in sleep amount directly. That's already a double. And for the wake, we'll do a double version of our hour time plus our minute time. That combined provides the total hour and minute they want to wake up in seconds. So now we have a prediction. The next step is to convert that to a nice human readable format. And we can do that using date formatter. I'll say let formatter equals a new date formatter. And I want to use a formatter.timestyle of .short, a nice short time. Then we can say let sleep time equals their wake up time minus however much a prediction said their actual amount of sleep ought to be. So if that's some amount of seconds, they need like 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep, subtract that from their requested wake up time, and that gives them their ideal sleep time. We can then put that into our alert message string by doing alert message equals our date formatter dot string from sleep time. So convert that sleep time into a neatly formatted string using the short time style. And then alert title equals your ideal bedtime is ... backed up by whatever time it actually is. Now, I'll try running the app, but as you'll see, it's got a fatal flaw. Just providing alert title and alert message isn't enough, as you'll see. So you can see it asked when you want to wake up. I'm going to select 8:30 a.m. I want to sleep for 8 hours, sounds good, but I drink tons of coffee. I press calculate, and you'll see nothing actually appears, even though we're calling all this code to calculate the right time. And the reason for this is pretty simple. We haven't actually made our alert yet. This requires a presentation to be attached to our VStack. So I'll go back to our code again. And up here you can see we have our padding and our @navbar items and title and so forth. After the padding, we're going to add another modifier, .presentation. Present some sort of modal. And we'll bind this to the value of $showingAlert. So when showingAlert is true, we want whatever views inside here to be shown. And when showingAlert's false, that alert should be hidden. The alert we want, of course, is pretty simple. We can say alert I'll choose this first option, or second option here, title, message, dismiss button. The title will be the text form of our alert title. Message will be a text form of our alert message. And the dismiss button will just do .default with the label text OK, like that. Now let's try it again. And we're almost there now. So again, I'll choose 8:30 a.m. 8:30 a.m. 8 hours is good, but I drink lots of coffee. I'll press calculate, and boom, it thinks 10:03 p.m. That's a good, 10.5 hours of sleep almost. More than I thought I needed because of that coffee I have. And at this point, the app's kind of done. But there is one more thing I'd like to fix while I'm here. If I press Command R again, you will see it. The default value for date pickers in SwiftUI and also UIKit is the current date and time. So you're seeing 10:44 p.m. because that's when I'm recording. What we really want to do is give that a sensible default wake-up time because most folks won't want to wake up at 10:44 p.m. So what we'll do is we'll make a new static variable somewhere. Let's do it here before calculate bedtime. We'll say static var default wake time is a date, and we'll say there's a new components, which is a date components. Components.hour is 8 o'clock, and components.minute is 0, so on the hour, 8 o'clock. And then we can say return our calendar.current.date from those components, but if that fails, nil coalescing the current date. But that won't ever fail, let's face it. So that'll say 8 o'clock every time. And now we can go up to our states at the top here, and rather than say equals a new date, we can use our brand new default wake time thing instead. We can just say wake up equals default wake time, like that. Press Command B and then Command R to build and run. Now it will default, boom, to 8 o'clock in the morning. Much, much nicer. That's another SwiftUI project complete. I hope you're now getting a feel for how state and bindings work together to simplify our apps, while also seeing how you can pull in all those other great iOS frameworks like CoreML. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I make lots more videos like this one to help you improve your skills as an iOS developer.